Hello and welcome to the Decal Splines setup video. In this video we'll cover how to set up your projects in order for Decal Splines to work. First, open the Unity Hub and create a new project. This is the version I'm using in this project. Name your project and select the URP 3D as a template. Now click Create Project. Now in your project, the first step is to go to Windows and open the Package Manager. Find Decal Splines, download the latest version, then press Import and make sure all the files are selected. Now, the first thing you're greeted with are a couple of errors, and this is because we still need to unpack certain files. To do so, find the freshly added Decal Splines folder in your Assets folder. Here you find two package files. Select the one that corresponds with your render pipeline. In our case, it's the one called URP Assets. Double-click it and import all the files that are inside. Next, we're going to add a ground plane for us to paint on. Now we'll add our first decal spline. Decal splines can be found under the Games context menu. With the decal spline selected, in the inspector menu, select the theme. Themes are a collection of styles. They're used to organize and categorize different decal styles together. I'm going to pick one that contains roads. The style selection menu now appears. However, the thumbnails are still missing. And when you select a style and try to draw a spline in the scene view, you'll see that nothing is drawn yet. That's because we need to tell the renderer that we want to render decals. Navigate to the settings folder. Here you can find all your render pipeline settings files for different quality settings. Identify the universal render data files. I'm only using the high fidelity quality setting, so I'm going to select the one that corresponds with this quality level. If you're using multiple quality settings or even custom ones, be sure to repeat the next step for all the universal render data files that you use. In the inspector, select Add Render Feature and click Decal. Set the technique to screen space and make sure to check Use Render Layers. What this does is it allows you to exclude certain objects from receiving decal splines. More on that in a minute. Let's test if everything works correctly now. I'm gonna scale up the ground plane a little bit so we have more space. Place a couple anchor points on the ground plane. Everything is looking good. I can adjust the handles, move them around. Let's now add a cube to the scene and see what happens. As you can see, the decal spline goes right over the cube, which is great if you want that. But let's pretend the cube is our player model. We don't want the player model to receive a decal spline. We can mark objects and tell the renderer whether or not a mesh should receive a decal by using render layers. A couple default layers are available, but we're going to add an exclusive layer just for decal splines. Open Project Settings and under Graphics, URP Global Settings, you can find the rendering layers. Add a new layer and call it Decal Splines. We will select this layer for our decal splines so that only objects on this layer will receive decal splines. Now, if you're watching this in the future, the rendering layer setting may have moved, so if you can't find it here, it should now be under Tags and Layers. Let's go back to our decal spline and select the layer we just added as the only layer to draw on. The road now disappears. That's because none of the objects in the scene are on the decal spline layer. Select the ground plane and under Mesh Renderer, check the decal splines layer. Poof! It's back, and this time it only draws on the floor and not on the cube. By playing with different layers, you can fine-tune the looks of your game. That's it for this video. In the next video, we'll cover how to add your own decal styles.